Thank you for tuning in to Cop with Comic. I'm Brian Koppen, and we're here with comic Erik Angel. Erik Angel, how the hell are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing so good. Thank you so much for coming on. And it sounds like you got a big there's a comedy charity event, Comedy for Peace, coming up on July 23rd.
That's true. You know, I started this a Comedy for Peace project last March 2019, and it was a big success. And we started to travel in America. And we had a West Coast tour in February and 2 shows in Canada. And I had so many plans. And, then Mr. COVID-19 arrived, and all my plans became dust. And that was a big bummer. And then we thought, me and my wife, Julia, that why not to do something nice? You know, if we are stuck in our room, so why not to do something nice with the project? And we connected a very nice organization in New York City called Feed the Front Lines.
Okay.
They are basically sending meals to nurses in hospitals and all kind of poor neighborhoods and people that need urgent help. And we decided to do this charity event online, July 23rd, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And it's going to be very diverse with Muslim, Jewish, and Indian, and the Christian comedians. It's going to be a wonderful evening with really great people.
And so they're not going to be necessarily kind of being funny about religion, but you got quality comics who just so happen to come from Jewish, Muslim, and Christian backgrounds.
Yes, but part of the charm of this project that the comedians, because it's this project, so they do bring also stuff from the backgrounds, from the life. Some of them are kids of immigrants. Some of them grew up here, like as Muslim in Dallas, or all kind of different experience. And it's really nice to hear and to laugh, because in the end you understand that the Jewish mother and the Egyptian mother and basically it's the same mother. So
yeah.
And so many similarities, and we're laughing about each other, we're laughing about ourselves, but it's a very kind way, and it's not mean, it's not about politics, and it's just to show that everything is okay. We can just stand on one stage or in one Zoom together these days and just have fun. This is the main target.
Yeah, and I think you were able to get done your March 11th show in Montreal, Canada, and I see on their bill you had former guest Khalid Rahman, so that must have been a fun time.
Oh yeah, definitely. Khalid traveled with me to California for 5 nights and 2 nights to Canada, and he's still part of the program. He won't be in July 23rd, but he's of course part of this program. This program started, by the way, with Jews and Muslim evening only.
Yeah.
And because that was my dream. But now it's just fun for me to make it a real interfaith show, because I think also people like to see us all together, and to see also kind of different people from all around the world and ethnicity but I think it's making a very interesting show, and it's also very funny because I'm bringing great comedians to work with me.
Oh yeah, with some substantial TV credits. So that's nice to see. And I'm glad you finally added Christians. As a Christian, it's so nice that you added Christians. And how was your dream kind of to bring together Jewish and Muslim people? Kind of why, what was your passion to do that?
Because I'm born and raised in Israel, and in Israel always there is this conflict, but basically the conflict, it's more between the government and the religious. Because everywhere I'm going in Israel and also in the world, it was in the World Cup in Russia, or I've been many times in Sinai, in Egypt, or everywhere I'm going in the world, when I met a Muslim guy, always it was maybe in a flight, always friendly, we're talking, we are, sharing things, everything is very warm. And for years I had this thought in my head, in my heart, why not to do something like that? Because we are, you know, in the human being connection, we are the same, and we don't have any desire to fight or to harm each other.
Yeah.
And and then one day I said, yeah, why I won't do it? After I came to New York and I started to do comedy, and I met here Mr. Comedians, and I start to ask them, and they said, yes, we'd love to do it. We'd love to do something like that. So I just found a way, and we had our first night last March, as I said, and it was a big success. People liked it so much. So I just had, they gave me a lot of energy to continue.
Good. That early success can help with a lot of energy. And it sounds like I love your point that once the government gets involved, that's when the conflict gets involved. It's like if there was no government whatsoever, I think we'd all get along basically fine and probably better than we do now. And so it's cool. You're doing that in the arts and entertainment. You're doing that in the comedy space. So pretty much, I mean, it's just going to go like gangbusters because, you know, they're going to see you guys just being hilarious in exactly the same way, even though you guys have totally different backgrounds.
Definitely, this is the idea, and it's working very well. And hopefully, things will get better. Everybody will be healthy, and will continue also to travel.
Yeah. And
so it's really fun.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're also not only are you from Israel, I think you're an Israeli immigrant, but also you're a journalist. Like, what kind of journalism have you been working on, and is any of that kind of inform your ideas with respect to bringing together an interfaith comedy show?
Interesting question. I'm a journalist more than 15 years now. It helps me during the years to support my art, me as an artist. And
what? You need a day job? You need a day job for comedy? What?
This is strange, right? Because I'm coming also from music. I'm choosing. I was a theater actor. I studied in drama school. All the mistakes that my father told me not to do. So I'm doing. I'm writing for 15 years. I started, and I'm still doing many sports stories. But after many years, maybe 6-7 years ago, it started to be boring for me just to do stories about sports, even though there's all the time I'm doing a magazine stories, so it's not exactly about the result. It's like the documentary, It's like I'm telling a story about the person, about his family, about his roots, and so it's much more than sports for me. This is why sometimes the people don't like sport, don't understand that sport it's much more than just to shoot a ball to
there's a human interest. Every player has his own like 5 or 6 human interest stories, probably, if you know where to look.
Exactly. There's so many human amazing stories. So, but in one point, I felt that there is many more stories that I want to cover, and I started to do all kind of things. So, regarding to your question, like for example, when I still was in Israel, we had the last 10 years, there were many immigrants that came to Israel, basically escaped from Eritrea, and there is many workers there from the field, like in every country, basically. There's many foreign workers. And I went to the fields, and I found artists from Eritrea and from Nepal and from the Philippines and from Ethiopia and all kind of African countries, and it was amazing. From Sudan, there are few refugees from Sudan that did theater together.
Wow.
So it was amazing project for me to find these people that live in very hard conditions. Really, the country wants to kick them out, and they have to, survive for the living from day to day. But still, because it's burning inside of them, so they have to paint, they have to sing, they have to do theater, and it was a beautiful thing to do.
Wow! And so, in the same way, you're doing that for comedy here in New York City.
Yeah. So somehow I found myself here a few years ago. And I started to do comedy in my second language, and very fast that I started to produce here my own bar shows. I wanted to do something more meaningful.
Yeah.
And suddenly that everything came together with Comedy for Peace.
But now with the pandemic, are you, when do you foresee you'll be able to take the show on the road again?
How to believe? How to know? I don't know. For now, I was supposed to be in the end of March in Vegas, and she moved the show to October 16th. So I
Uh,
don't know. I hope that will happen. But for now, we keep doing what we can over online and Zoom. There are Zoom shows. And hopefully in the end of July, I'm going to do my first gigs when I'm in New Jersey, and I'm supposed to produce something in the city in the beginning of August in front of live people.
yeah.
So first of all, I just want to go back to the stage, to find an option to go back to the stage. And meanwhile, I filmed all the shows that we have in California and Canada. And so now I want to cut a few new trailers. And I have big plans for this project, but as you said, time will tell us, because we don't know anything about second wave. We don't know it's going to be closed again, reopened.
Yeah.
New York was like if you want to be a comedian, it's the place to be, and now everything is closed. So who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, well, hopefully, I mean, you'll have to keep your chops sharp, though. You have to keep your comedy chops sharp. Like before July 23rd, how are you staying sharp? Are you able to do any of these park shows or rooftop shows?
I'm still looking. Like I didn't do it yet, but I'm definitely going to do them. I'm writing a lot, and I'm practicing or in Zoom shows or
Yeah,
in there are open mics every
yeah,
day.
yeah,
So I'm working very hard, and I'm basically also, because Zoom is not my favorite, but I'm in a way forcing myself to do it few times a week, because I have to do it. I have to keep
yeah,
working on it every day. I'm writing and rewriting and developing new things and make my stuff stronger. And it's a process. It's years to build your own act, to build your first funny hour. It's a real journey.
yeah,
It's exciting for me, but now it's since what happened with the pandemic, it's really like unbelievable. Thank God that we have Zoom, and we have option to do it. And now that it's warmer, so I'm going to establish a show in a park, and I'm looking for rooftop. Exactly what you said. This is exactly where I am now. I'm all over the place trying to recreate myself.
yeah. And I was just talking to
Yeah,
Stacy Pressman, and she said that I think she had an hour special ready to be recorded, and then
yeah,
the pandemic came, and now you have to kind of go back, and you gotta almost rewrite some of that material so that it still makes sense to people in the post-pandemic world. And so yeah, it's so difficult to get your hour together, and then once you do, there's a pandemic and you need to kind of adapt. But comedians are the first to adapt. They're such hustlers, so it's so fun to see
yeah.
them kind of take the Zoom so quickly.
Yeah, after a week that things closed, people start to do mics and shows on Zoom. It was amazing. For me, it took a
Yeah,
few weeks to digest that. At first, I didn't want to do it, but I understood very fast that this is the way and this is the reality. And I just started, and it was not that bad. Cannot
yeah,
say that all the shows I'm doing, I'm having fun. It's still it's to find yourself in a new, it takes years to feel comfortable on a stage and with your material, and suddenly to sit at home and to look at yourself, all kind of people, and you have to beg people, begging them, open the video, open the audio, and all kind of trolls. Somebody once
uh,
opened the window, start to jerk off in the middle of my set. It's just, you
so
know,
now, are you going to be careful to make sure that people have a Zoom password for your Comedy for Peace show? Because I would think that some of the Zoom bombers could be kind of anti-religion bigots or something like that, ready to crash.
definitely. I didn't think about it even until that show, that few trolls suddenly showed up. Our show, we're gonna, first of all, we're selling tickets because this is the donation. So
Yeah,
if you want to be so fucked up and pay money and then come to ruin our show,
yeah,
so you basically will be able to try. But for sure, it's going to be me, and I'm going to ask for at least one person to be there with me online, and to be prepared, that because you can kick out everyone you want. You just need to see it. You can shut it, you can silence him, and you can kick him out.
yeah,
But you just need to be aware of that, because I heard of a few shows or events that people were not ready, and it pretty much took over. And I heard also, I have a Facebook broadcast, a weekly myself. So I spoke with Alonso Baudin, the comedian, and he told me there is some friend of him, they're doing a lot of Zoom shows. And every time a guy like that coming, he's giving him the stage. He just say, okay, just talk and do whatever you want. And 90% of them just escaping because suddenly they have all the attention.
uh,
And it's like to take a heckler on the stage. But most
yeah.
of the time it was, he will poop in his pants and will go away or something. Yeah.
Yeah, changing subject real quick. I'm interested to hear an immigrant's perspective on the Black Lives Matters protest in New York City and around the country and even the world. Like,
Yeah.
what do you see when you look at these protests?
First of all this, everything that happened was very painful. I think everyone, if you're a human being with emotions, to see what happened to George Floyd and to understand the situation of the Black people in America, because during the years, of course, I saw movies and I learned since I came here the sensitivities and the story. I didn't grow up here, so it took some time. But also, we have Ethiopians. There is a black problem in Israel against Black people in Israel. It's somehow all over. Here, of course, it's longer and it's harder. At first, it was pretty scary for me. I have to admit, we had suddenly we had curfew. I grew up
Yeah.
in Israel. It's a war zone. I've been in a few wars, and I ran to shelters. I saw a few times missiles in the sky. Yeah,
Wow.
I had this experience in my life, but
Yeah.
I never been in a curfew. So
So even when there's missiles overhead, there's no curfew?
no, there was no. I had a few years ago. It was like I lived in Tel Aviv. We had once a day. I was just running to a shelter. When it started, I had like a minute or something like that. And the first time and a few times I saw it in the air because there is two missiles. There is missile coming, and there's missile that chasing after him to bomb him.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Wow.
When my wife, she's American, so when she came to live with me a few months in Israel, she explained to me basically through her experience that it's not normal. For me, it's pretty normal. Like, do you really live like that? So, and I understood that it's really not normal, but I basically, I was a teenager when Bush the father attacked in Iraq, and Saddam Hussein just threw missiles on Israel because of that.
Wow.
So this was my first time in the 90s. And so I've been through this scary moments, but I never had a curfew, and there was the looters here, and all these words that I even I couldn't say in English even. Suddenly,
Yeah.
to say quarantine took me 2 months. So now there are looters and the curfew. I didn't know how to say it even, and it was a little bit too much for me. And we left the city for the first time to upstate New York.
Oh, okay.
But for my father, just for a few days to refresh after a few months here in the city. But I think I was very impressed. It was very emotional for me that people all over this country went out from their houses to say the Black Lives Matter and no more, and they want a change. I can tell you probably don't know that, but the same day, more or less, with George Floyd, there was something in Israel that the police shot some autistic Arabic kid, and it was a terrible thing, and nobody went to the streets. It was very sad for me. So I was very proud about people that went out, and I was very proud to see very diversity in the protest.
Yeah.
That it's not only Black people going to protest for Black people. And after a few days, they also took control about all this breaking glasses and going to stores. So I think it made things more focused on the target. And very impressive. It's crazy because after all this COVID-19 and suddenly that, and then you say, what next? Like aliens are going to come? Like what's going to happen? How we found ourselves like living a B film.
Yeah.
We just... It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I love the fact that you're saying it was so powerful to see so many kind of, people of all races coming together and saying that enough is enough, and it happened around the world. And I think that, the same thing is going to be powerful with your Comedy for Peace, because if all these people start saying, if all these comics start saying the same thing about their upbringing, it just goes to show how similar everybody is. And if everybody is so similar, why the fuck do we care about, somebody else being of a different faith?
I agree with you 100%. And I think the most important thing that from childhood, people will, there will be project and people will take care of that kids will meet other kind of kids.
Yeah.
And because there are many stories also, people are growing up and suddenly I never saw a Jew in my life, I never saw a black guy, I never saw. When you get to know other kind of people, not only from your tribe, you understand very fast that it's all, 95% is the same. Okay, there is maybe a different religion, different kinds of food, but this is also just make it more happy and, and more interesting for everyone. I want to eat a different kind of food. I want to hear music that somebody did in Congo. And that was make it so great. So I think that it's very easy for the politicians to sell fear and to, and the Mexicans got to come to take over here and all kind of things like that. And it's very easy. It's not only in America, it's all over the world like that. This is the times now, and I think it go over. But there is, we are, all the time I say about Comedy for Peace, that I'm not going to, this project, it's not going to change the world. We want to bring a small lights for dark rooms.
Yeah.
That's all. A little bit of light.
Yeah. And back in the day it was a dark room, and now it's just an internet full of people who are just sitting there laughing along. And I love that. Comedy for Peace on July 23rd is going to benefit Feed the Frontlines NYC, and it sounds like that's going to take local restaurants that need the support, and that's going to use them to feed the New York's front lines. And so that's our essential workers and people, doctors and nurses and things like that.
Yeah, we're also going to invite the nurses and all the staff members from Mount Sinai Hospital to be our special guests in the show to watch it for free.
Oh, cool.
It's very important for us also. Also, of course, because the amazing work they're doing, but also we had, me and my wife, some very amazing experience with the nurses and the staff in Mount Sinai Hospital 2 years ago. So we really want to do also something for them.
You want to thank them and make sure they have a laugh at the end of their heroic day.
Yeah, definitely. It's unbelievable. It's really angels. Now what they had to been through, I cannot even imagine. But also on the daily basis, because I've been there in some private thing that we went through with my mother-in-law, and there was so amazing to us, and everything was. And it's not easy to be a nurse, It's hard work, days.
They see some shit, don't they? They see the worst.
Oh my God!
They bring the best to the worst. Everybody's going through the worst moment in their lives, and then the nurse or doctor comes and acts like a compassionate professional, and that just turns everything around.
Unbelievable. And always, the payment is not enough, and but they still work so hard. So if we can do something even small to make them laugh for an hour, for us, it's going to be a bless.
Well, bless you for doing it. And Comedy for Peace, July 23rd. Check it out, because I follow him, Erik Angel Comedy, but also there you can see that it draws you to the website comedyforpeace.com, which is the numeral 4. And I thank you so much for talking to us about it. And Erik Angel, you are an angel.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, really. Thank you so much for having me, and I hope to see you in the future.
Let's hope. Let's hope there's a future to see. Thanks a lot, Erik.
Amen for that. Thank you.